Well, Wednesday's here. It's been a few days since our online only worship gathering, and this is kind of day 3 of these thoughts on prayer. This past Sunday in the message, you had the opportunity to kind of chime in with your thoughts, your opinions, your experiences about prayer. We had 2 separate surveys set up for the 2 different worship gatherings. And it was fascinating that even in the 9 and the 11 worship gathering, the results were almost identical. When it came to prayer, the number one insecurity or element that people mentioned discomfort by, shared by 75% of those who responded, was, I'm not quite sure what to say or where to start in prayer. And the second one, the number 2 insecurity, was, sometimes I just feel silly praying. Now, I don't think I'm supposed to admit this to you, what I'm about to, and I'm going to tell you a secret, so long as you keep it just between you and me, okay? Promise to never let it leave this small, unknown little video site called YouTube. I understand both of those insecurities, not sure what to say, and sometimes feeling silly about praying. I remember when I first started to date my wife, in the earliest stages, it was very awkward. I'm sure the same was probably true for you. I didn't know what to say. At times, I wondered if what I did say would sound silly to her. I truly expected that at any moment, like all of a sudden, she would awaken from this slumber, her eyes would open, and she would see the troll standing before her. Like I was going to say one dumb thing. I was one dumb thing away from her realizing that she had made a big mistake in choosing to go out with me. Now, my wife is a major introvert, so what that means is she gets very uncomfortable around large crowds of people, especially when she doesn't know many of them. And on our first date, she didn't really know me yet. And an introvert doesn't like to talk that much with someone that they don't know, especially in a date context where you're trying to impress the other person. So since Kat wasn't really that interested in talking, in order to get her talking, I started asking questions because I wanted to get to know her. And I remember about an hour into our first date, she kind of stopped me and said, is this 20 questions? Like, it was kind of her means of saying, enough with all the questions. I don't want to talk to you because I'm nervous. It would be a while later that she would tell me on our first date that she kind of felt like she was on a job interview. Well, she got the job. So prayer is simply conversation with God. And no matter what you've ever thought, prayer is not a spiritual gift. It's not an ability somebody is just born with. It's simply a conversation that any person on the planet can learn how to have. But insecurities and silliness go along with it. In the same way, there's an awkward stage at the beginning of a blossoming relationship. But once love starts to grow and you start to discover who you're talking to, and you discover what they're like, and once you discover how much you mean to them and how much they mean to you, then that conversation can really cover any topic under the sun, and it starts to flow easily. There's still times where in the midst of what I'm facing, I'm not quite sure how to start a prayer. I'm not quite sure what to say. Remember, God's your Heavenly Father. You're His kid. And your brain, compared to the mind of God, is very simple. So if your prayer life is simple, don't run away from that. Run towards that. If you have any doubt about your ability to communicate with your Heavenly Father in prayer, take this to heart. Jesus says this in Matthew 18:3. Become like little children. In fact, he even kind of gives us this idea that we have to be like kids in order to have this relationship with God, because there's such a separation between us and the Creator of the universe. Remember yesterday we talked about the one who keeps the earth and the planets and the stars and the universe in order. His ability is far beyond ours. Have you ever listened to a child pray? I'm sure you have. It's simple. It's pure. It's authentic. It's heartfelt. It makes you smile. It's not eloquent and deep. It's from the heart. Our Father only wants to hear us speak what's in our hearts to Him, to put words to what it is we're feeling, and to move in areas where our faith expands. Somehow we have this understanding that the people who pray the best or the most effectively, or the ones that God listens to, or the ones who pray well or out loud or godly, whatever that means, they're the ones that our Father listens to, that they hold more weight, that God responds, that they have more power, more meaning, and nothing could be further from the truth. Simple phrases like, God, I love you. God, I trust you. God, I don't understand this, but I believe you're in control. God, help me. They're simple, but they're powerful, because what matters to Him is that they are genuine. What we're facing right now in our world is difficult. It's overwhelming. And whenever we face something that overwhelms us, we need weapons to kind of push back and fight against that battle. The early Christians experienced a lot of hardship in their daily lives, and at times, and in their time, there were no pastors or teachers to come along and teach a class. There was no DVD or book that you could buy to teach people how to pray. And so Paul, in writing letters to these churches, and one of them to the church in Thessalonica, Paul said this to a group of Jesus followers. He said, prayer is essential in this ongoing warfare. Pray hard and long. Pray for your brothers and sisters. Keep your eyes open. Keep each other's spirit up so that no one falls behind or drops out. You know, the beautiful thing about prayer is you don't need a teacher to teach you a process to get better at it. You get better at it as you choose to communicate with God more authentically with what's happening in your life. Prayer isn't a talent you learn as much as it is the relational result of a growing love for your dad, like an earthly parent. As a relationship grows, as you grow, as your kids grow, the conversation changes over time. When you grow in understanding who God is and what God is like, what He's already done for you, and when we start to see how big His acceptance is of us, that He's chosen us and adopted us, our desire begins to shift. And we discover more about Him and our relationship. And we just want to talk to Him more because we recognize the more we have conversation with Him, the more we change. Prayer is a great gift. Take advantage of it today. Find a few moments to just kind of pull yourself away from whatever's going on. Throughout the day, a few moments here, a few moments there. Thank God for who He is. Worship Him. Ask Him to move in your life. Pray for those around you that you know are struggling, and see what God begins to do to show up. See you tomorrow.